Hypocritical gobshite. Yeah, it's overcast but not raining. That's just where I want the weather. Yeah, I hate the sun. I hate summer. I get, you know how some people get seasonal depression. I get it each time it turns to summer. So as you can well imagine, I'm not a fan of the sun, sand and surf and the Australian beach culture, which I absolutely fucking loathe. Alright? But there it is. Yeah, it's kind of funny when you wake up like the small time Ricky Gervais of YouTube. I don't care. I don't care whether my opinions are hated, despised, whether people suddenly block me everywhere because they get so butthurt over my opinions because suddenly they've decided to join the military, even though they're realizing, ooh, that's a lot of work, so they withdraw their application and for whatever reason post it on Facebook. Yeah, I have my sources. And then on the other hand, you have people I once admired for his acting ability, like Benedict Cumberbatch, who now has sold out and become yet another faceless NPC of Hollywood, or should I call it pedowood, who thinks that every boy should become a feminist, right? Well, I'm sorry to be Gatsby for a second. I'm sorry, old sport, but the ideal is to become a, wait for it, humanist in one's attitude. Although considering these days most people are blind, backstabbing, mindless, propaganda machine suckling gobshites, you will excuse me if I choose to be a lone wolf and a hermit instead. But ideally speaking, humanist is the more preferred attitude to have towards people. I mean, hell, I've got more time for leafy things and furry things myself these days, but hey, whatever. I'd rather spend time petting a dog or a cat or any other kind of animal than talking to a normie. But hey, that's me. Because you'll find animals are the most honest beings. What you see is what you get. They show affection when they mean it. It's kind of funny. People could learn quite a few things from the animal kingdom, but anyway. But of course, the Bible says blah 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 blah. But I digress. Yeah, it's kind of interesting when I hear people that they're obviously spouting this mindless nonsense. They know it's nonsense, but somehow they think to keep their job and remain relevant and not be quote unquote cancelled, they must suddenly plug into the propaganda machine and spout the same kind of nonsense everyone else seems to be doing. Except for us people like James Woods or Sam Elliott. And apparently Benedict Cumberbatch is now making a Western exclusive for Netflix. As soon as you hear a Netflix exclusive, you know it's going to be a woke piece of crap. I mean, fuck. Try watching the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh dear. I'll have the original any day of the week, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Someone else mentioned it on a video that I watched not just days ago, where we're entering the era where I think it could have been erotic. Anyway, we're entering an era where when people in years to come look back on it, they'll look back on it as the age of the remake, when nothing really original was offered culturally, etc., etc. And it's right. You look at all the remakes during the last 12 years, and you'll see my point. It's all really campy, woke, disgusting, pandering Marxist remakes, and really bad remakes, which is even worse. It's kind of different when you take a sci-fi film or a fantasy film that was made in the 70s, where the technology didn't really match up to what they wanted to depict, and they do a remake of it with today's technology, and it's well done. Okay, I can get behind that. However, that's not what's happening. And why would anyone become a feminist, especially male? It's like saying, in my opinion, why the fuck would anyone go out of their way to become Christian or Muslim, right? Or convert to Judaism? What the fuck for? But there it is. In an era of... See, my favourite era of Hollywood films were the 1930s, 40s, and part of the 50s. By the 50s, it was starting to get a bit fucked. But, your James Cagney's and your David Nivens and your Cary Grants and Humphrey Bogart, real Orson Welles, real actors with real talent, right? I know, in an era in which talent actually existed. Yes, my fuckers, that actually was the case. When Casablanca and Maltese Falcon and the 39 Steps came out, that era. When Citizen Kane came out, and the other film with James Stewart, which quote unquote they tried very hard to not have made, namely Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, because it clearly exposed the corruption and the deceit behind the modern political game, and it is a game. It has nothing to do with the people, for the people, by the people at all. If you're going to pretend to be, well, actually, technically your country is a republic, not a democracy, so let's get that straight first. If you're going to pretend to be a democracy, at least bring back the classical Hellenic system of ostracism, alright? The assembly of the people, okay? Where there actually was an actual democracy. And of course, my ancient namesake wasn't a big fan of it, interestingly enough. So, and I can see why. You have a group of clueless imbeciles getting together, and they're going to decide the state's policies when they have no fucking idea, and they're easily persuaded by the propaganda machine, especially these days. Wow, can you imagine that happening today? People, the normies today, the brainwashed normies today, who put a little flag of the Ukraine in their Facebook profile picture. Can you imagine those clueless gobshites voting on anything? Yeah, unfortunately, it's a devolution, not an evolution. We're living in an era where, as I said, do I need to go through the whole thing again? There is a concerted effort to keep people dumb, passive and stupid and clueless, while trying to show fake pride in... I know, there's a word, pride. And I don't have to fly a silly little rainbow flag. Can you imagine we're living in an era where someone is showing pride in being a narrow-minded, clueless gobshite? Namely, the whole materialist atheist agenda. You do know that's a purposely created system to keep people disconnected to their real innate power, right? No, unless I can experience it through my five senses, it doesn't exist. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, old sport, but there are layers of reality which are not directly experienced through the five senses. And I'm sure you've watched silly live streams like The Atheist Experience with Matt Dillahunty. He used to be many years studying the Bible, la 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 la. Yeah, so did I. I'm heathen. And what else have you got? At least my gods actually get ask me to stand on my feet like a man and act like a man, and not grovel on the floor, saying, "Oh, I'm not worthy," and blah 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 blah. The Abrahamic gobshite system, right? Turn the other cheek. The biggest load of cowardly shite I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, we're living in an era now where you have men, right? This is why I said in a previous video, 2 or 3 videos ago, as far as the modern man now who decides who upon seeing the system the way it is, skewed horribly against men in as far as child custody and divorce court and all these kind of things, and relationships in general. They look at the way that the system is skewed, and an increasing number of men are saying, you know what, no thank you, I'll just do my own thing over here, away from relationships, period. We're living in an era where that seems to be the only option, increasingly, and an era where being a man is demonized, where not only are we turned into second-class citizens, but we're turned into undesirables and criminals, and let's just hope that they don't start to have quote-unquote labour camps for us in the near future, and ask us to wear striped pyjamas with numbers tattooed on our arms and little pink, they will undoubtedly be little pink stars, right? And then they have the gall and tenacity to ask, oh, whereof have all the good men gone, right? Well, you won't find them anywhere near mainstream society these days, because one look in the direction of a woman and false rape charges, and you're going to Me Too the man to death. All right. You ladies want to know where the good men are. You might want to have a look in your friend zone. You know, the kind of guys that you talk about the problems with the assholes that you're getting all wet and fucking left, right and centre, right? Those guys. The guys who you've somehow in your own little fucked up minds turned into the gay friend / counsellor, right? Those guys. And considering my feelings on feminism and the modern woman, it's amazing, even in the MGTOW community, so many guys are going out of their way to say, oh, no, we don't hate women. I hate modern women with a fucking passion. The whoring, promiscuous, classless, unladylike, mouthy cunts that the modern woman is. Yeah, I fucking hate them. I detest them with every fibre of my being, I do. Which is why I don't really fit in the MGTOW community, which is why quite a while now, which is why I went lone wolf. As I said on one of these channels, a certain Canadian, some of you guys might know, it's the same sub numbers and the same MGTOW, there's a clue, live streams, and the same stuff and the same 5 or 6 principles of MGTOW every fucking time, talking about the same stuff every fucking time, because of course, as I keep saying, MGTOW is just one very small piece of a gigantic jigsaw puzzle, and it's an important piece, but it's not the whole jigsaw. See? And most of these guys don't understand that, and I was actually a mod on this gentleman's channel, and I was happy to do it, and I supported him to the to the furthest heavens and back, right? Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, he decided to take away my wrench, and then when I called him on it, he said, "Oh, no, that was a mistake," and he promptly gave it back. And then, for no reason whatsoever, later, not too long later, he took the wrench away. So that's when I unsubbed and went my own way. Because you'll find that a lot of these guys are, for whatever reason, really hardcore Bible fuckers. Is incredible. And a lot of them in the live streams that I go on and talk about Jesus and the Bible and blah 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 blah. I don't give a fuck. Would you like me to quote what the Lord of the Rings says in certain chapter and certain verse? So like I said, there's very few MGTOW content creators I actually have respect for. Hammerhand is one of them. One or two others, but for the most part, I just go my own way because I don't belong there. Even though I've been a monk for 14 years and am as hardcore MGTOW as you can possibly get, but that is only one part of the male human experience, and that's what these gobshites don't fucking understand. Okay, let's put out another video about the silly things that entitled, clueless, above mentioned, whoring, promiscuous young women who have no idea what's actually good for them. The silly things they say and do for the 1000th time. You see how that would be boring after perhaps 3 or 4? Now, on the other hand, Karen videos are a different kind of video because they're just damned entertaining. When you have channels like Karen's in the Wild, that's the good stuff. When you need a pick me up, when you're waking up in the morning, not really feeling exactly on top of the world, that's when you watch those kind of videos. But I think I've covered a wide range of topics enough for today. What we need more these days is becoming more in touch with the sacred masculine, not denigrating and demonizing it more than these cunts already have since the early 1960s, right? We need to reclaim the young male rite of passage, which has been lacking. Of course, when you've got the Abrahamic gobshite cancerous religions, that usually disappears. As I said, in all indigenous societies, in indigenous European paganism, these wonderful rites of passage existed, but nowadays they don't. The all-important mentor relationship is lacking these days because, of course, most of these young guys now are being raised by single mothers. And of course, they're not going to have any idea what it's like being a young man caught between childhood and adulthood, having no idea which direction he's supposed to go and what's good for him. So there it is. We need to elevate the masculine, unshackle the masculine, take it out of the muck and the grime of 1700 years of Abrahamic gobshitism and elevate it once again. Because for all those years, ladies, not only were you shackled, but so was the masculine for way too fucking long. Okay? Young male feminist. What the fuck for? It's like taking a blind man to a strip club. What the fuck for? Or an art gallery. Like, seriously. Ugh. But there it is. Wake up for yourself, mainly. Wake the fuck up, because you'll start to feel better when you start to detox from all the brainwashing, mind-numbing drugs that you've been allowing yourself to take in without even realising it most of your adult life. And yes, as always, to speak the truth is a very lonely path. It won't get you friends or support. it'll force you to remove yourself from mostly from the MGTOW community, which I find hilarious, being a 14-year monk and all. Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to sort of mindlessly bleat on about Bitcoin and sex dolls, and so instead of really taking the all-important sexual power, it is a very powerful magic, and channeling it into something more creative, you would rather fuck a piece of plastic in the shape of a female. Really? And why would anyone take you seriously again? Can you see why most people shit on most of the online MGTOW community? When you're spouting nonsense like that, you've got it coming. Yeah, I don't care how many subs that loses me. I don't. In words of Ricky Gervais, I don't care. Because I was being MGTOW long before you guys even thought about being MGTOW. Alright? So, I'm extending my middle finger. The irreverent, in-your-face, sarcastic, heathen hammer-wielding, gobshite slaying lone wolf on guitar, out.